Hey everyone, this is Justin, or RaceWarrior21. I'm the developer for Daridact, and today I'm going to be showing you the basics of time control, or more specifically, time control in games. Just think along the lines of Braid, or the game I'm making, which has a similar mechanic. So first I want to show you exactly what I'm talking about in my game. So basically, what we're going to be doing is going to be recording what the player is doing. So, walking, running, all this different stuff. And then we're going to be able to reverse through what the player is doing. And control. These are all the features that my game has, but I believe I just want to get through to the point to where we can control. We have a recording of the player, and we can reverse through it, or just play it back like this. So we have a recording of the player doing all these things. That's basically what we're going to be doing. So we want to have a little bit of time control with that, where we can reverse back through what the player's doing, and then have a playback functionality for the player, like so. The clone. Alright. So that's how it works in my game. So let's try it. Let's go ahead. First I'm going to go ahead and close this actually. So I'm going to try and do this with the basic Unity 2D tools. So just a heads up is I think this is going to be probably an intermediate tutorial, so I'm going too fast, sorry. And let me go ahead and hide my Twitter overlay so you don't have to see that for the entire tutorial. I think I'm mostly done plugging myself. Alright, so let's go ahead and go to Assets and import the default Unity 2D package. You're going to be working with the robot controller, Robot Boy. If you recognize him from the Unity live training sessions, I'm going to try and get him to do the same stuff that we were doing in my game. So let's wait for that to import. Alright, so in the standard assets, and then in 2D, let's take a look at the prefabs, and drag out our Robot Boy. And let's make the camera a bit bigger, we want a bit more space here. Drag a platform in, another one, and let's make sure everything's working. Ooh, we can walk, we can jump, and yeah. So we're going to be wanting to record all these states that this player is in right now. So we want to record his animation state. See if he's idle, if he's walking, if he's jumping, falling. We're going to record all of that. And we need to record the position and the direction he's facing. He's facing right, he's facing left. So let's go ahead and get started on that. First, I am going to go ahead and create a script. It's my time controller script. Go ahead and open that up in Visual Studio. And let's zoom in a little bit. So basically what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be working strictly in the fixed to update function. And I'm going to have a variable, an integer. I'm going to increment that for every time fixed update is called. And this is basically going to be my timeline for this this time control aspect. And for every time the integer is incremented, that indicates like the call of a frame or progression in time pretty much. So I don't think we need the start function. We'll just change this to fixed update. And let's just have a public integer called time. And just say time plus plus, the fixed update function. And let's just say bool is forward equals true. So if time is moving forward, we're going to increment time. And we're just going to make that true by default because this is what we want to get working first. We want to make sure everything works like good linearly or straight forward, you know, whatever, what you'd expect. So, alright, so now we have the time controller script. Let's just create a game object, call it time controller, and let's go ahead and drag and drop our time controller component we just made on here, and let's just make sure that time is incrementing. Alright, there we go, we can see it changing up there. So now what do we do? Now we're going to need a recorder script that's going to be recording the player for every single time fixed update function is called. So I'm going to go ahead and save my scene. Let's call it test scene. And then I'm going to create a new C# script called recorder. Open that up. Looks like my zoom reset, but whatever. So basically, what we need to do is record three things I mentioned earlier: the position, the animation state, and the direction the player is facing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a struct for this. And a struct's basically just structure of data, I guess. I don't know. I'm not too much of an expert, but you know, that's what I'm going to use. So player state, public struct player state, and we are going to need a vector3 to store our position in. We are going to need an integer that we're going to store our animation state in, and we're going to need a bool. We'll tell what direction the player is facing. True for right, and false for left. And finally, we're going to need the constructor. So, let's just hash out the fun constructor stuff. It's just setting up all this basics things. The constructor is just called when you create a new player state, and we need to feed in the information. So, alright, so that should be it for our struct. So we'll have all the information we need for playing back. So now what we're going to do is we need a way to access time controller from this script. So let's just create a serialized field for time controller, and we'll do that in the Entity Editor in a second. And it's also, let's go ahead and cache our animator, because we're going to be accessing that a lot. We don't want to be using get component all the time. And so we have the struct for how we're going to store our data. Sort of, we can store a single state. The player state that we have, it only represents a single state or a single frame. But we need to actually store like a list of this data, right? So I'm going to be using a dictionary, which means I need to include systems collections.generic, and then we can create our dictionary here. And our key is going to be the integer value from time controller we're using. So you have the public int time, so that we can just feed in the time, whatever time we're at, and then we'll pull a state there out and use and play it if it exists later on. So int, and we're going to want a player state. That's what we want to get back from this dictionary. Let's just call this, we'll just call it states for now. Equals new dictionary. I'm just going to go ahead and just create it from the start. And let's go ahead and change this to fixed update. And let's create a bool called bool is recording equals, just have it recording from the start. Bool is recording. So if is recording, we're going to want to add a new player state. to our dictionary. So for every time fixed update function is called, we're going to add a new state. We're going to go states.add, and the key is going to be time controller dot time, and then we're going to feed in a new player state. My autocomplete's not working, it's being annoying, but alright, position, so transform.position, and then we're going to need the anim state, so we can go animator dot get current animator state info on layer 0, that's what all that means, short name hash, and that's the integer value that I'm storing in the player state you saw earlier. And finally, we know what direction the player is facing. Transform.localScale.x is greater than 0. This means that if our x value on this guy is greater than 0, it's going to be true. False, yeah, fun. Alright. So, let's go ahead and try and make this easier to see. So, we're going to record the position, short the hash, or the integer value for the animator, and then the Boolean value for what direction the player is facing. Alright, so let's just go ahead and make sure that states is recording properly. And we also need to hook up this time controller to, actually we need to add the recorder to the player in the first place. Alright, let's add that component first, and then we need to connect the time controller to the player. Alright. Now let's just make sure that there's something being recorded so we know that it's working. Plus states.count. You can see the number of states in the dictionary. See, states is incrementing at the same rate that time controller is incrementing. So things are probably working, right? Yep. Alright. Next, we are going to... So now we have a recording, right? Now we need a way of playing that back. So how are we going to do that? Well, I think we should create a new script. So create a new C# script called player. Let's go ahead and create a dummy. I'm going to call this, Clone Boy. And we can just remove all of the user control stuff because we don't need that. Remove the recorder too. Go ahead and attach the player component. And man, this loves zooming me back out. Alright. So let's go fixed add. It's going to be working in the fixed update function. So the player is just going to play back all the information from the recorder, or all the information in the dictionary, right? So he's going to need the player class is going to need dictionary, and I need to include generic again. Dictionary int player state. I'll just call it recording here. And we're probably going to need to link up this this player over here, just for the sake of testing. Connect. Just go ahead. Connect Clone Boy up to recorder. Alright. That's going to be important later. So we're going to need to play the states in the player, right? So we're going to need to do the same thing and cache the animator function. We can just go ahead and copy all this over. Caching the animator, and we also need the time controller information. Let's do that too. So we're caching the time controller as well. And let's go ahead and make sure that's connected in Unity. The reason the player needs to see what the time controller is because he needs to know what time it is. So, bool is playing equals false. Let's have that be false from the start. But we need to know what we're going to do while we're playing. So if we're playing, we need to play the whatever player state we get from the dictionary. So we're going to say if there is a state, if it contains the key for time controller. So if the dictionary contains a state for the current time that we are at, that's what we're saying here. What we need to do is play the state, right? Let's play state recording at timecontroller.time. And we need to define the play state function. Void play state. And we're going to need to pass player state to this. So what's going to happen when we play the state? Well, we're going to need to update the player position. So transform.position equals player state dot position. We're going to need to update the animator. Animator dot play player state dot anim state. And we're going to need to make sure that the player is facing the right direction. This one gets a little bit convoluted. Equals new vector 3 transform. Just go ahead and actually make this temporary. Vector 3 local scale equals transform local scale local scale dot x equals player state dot direction. So if the player state is facing right, we are going to set the local scale to the absolute value local scale dot x. Else we are going to do the negative absolute value of local scale. This is basically a different way of writing an if-else statement. So now that our play state function is hopefully working, let's go ahead and add a little bit of some key input so we can start the playback. So also we need to pass the information of this dictionary over to this guy over here. So public void set recording. I'm going to pass the dictionary that we created earlier. To set this recording to a new dictionary. And feed that into the value. Because we want to copy it, we don't want to just create a new reference. So we're going to copy that over. So next, so let's just go ahead and do what we're going to do here. And put this up here. We're going to do some input over here. So if input.get key down, key code, just do P for play. And if we hit P, we want to basically stop recording, right? So is recording equals false. And we want to pass the dictionary over our states, whatever our current states over, to the player, so the player can play back the states. So player.setRecording states. So So now that this guy has a recording, I don't think I actually need input here. Now this guy can play. So let's just say is playing equal to true. And let's go ahead and reset the time controller too. Set the time back to 0. So we'll start playing back from the beginning. And hopefully this will work. I'm not sure if I missed anything, but let's go ahead and test it. So I'm moving, hit P. It's mostly working. Looks like the local scale is not working as way intended, but we're getting so we know the position is transferring properly. So let's take a look at what we did wrong. It looks right to me, but probably messed something up somewhere. Anyways, I just remembered for the reason the animator is bugging out though. So if you see, I can just go ahead and show it again real quick. The animator is bugging out is because if we take a look at the animator, there's a lot of transitions happening here. And basically all these transitions are irrelevant for the clone state because he's playing back. So we need to basically delete these transitions or create a brand new animator that doesn't even have these transitions and just has the states. So I'm going to go ahead and do the latter because I believe if I delete these transitions it gets rid of the player transitions as well. Do the same thing. So our 2D character animator, just go ahead and copy this. I'll just call this clone animator. Let's just actually I'm going to call it, just for the sake of consistency, 2D clone animator. Alright, so consistent. Alright, so let's give Clone Boy our 2D clone animator, and let's just delete all these transitions. Make sure the default is still going to idle. Alright, now let's see if that fixed his bugs. Alright, I'm moving around as being recorded. Hit P. Seems to be fixed except for, I believe his rigid body is still enabled, so he's not looking as smooth as he could be, or should be. So we actually needed to disable the rigid body. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. Rigid body 2D. And let's just have that get disabled when the recording is set. Is kinematic equals true. And let's try and fix this. There might be local scale.x is greater than 0. Alright, we didn't update the local scale after we changed it, we just stored it. Alright. Okay, hopefully that fixes both the issues. So, moving around, and we're being recorded right now. Hit P to play. And there we go. Let's go ahead and maximize this so you guys get a better idea of what's happening. So you see all the animation states are being recorded currently. Hit play. And they're being played back. Still pushing me around, jerk. Can't do anything to him though. Alright, so you're wondering why I set up this time controller with this, let's do the screen, with the time variable accessible here. So now let me go ahead and just do something. Just do a little create a quick recording. Here, let's do that. And I'm going to stop around 500, hit P. You can see everything is playing out the way you'd expect. The great part about using this time control system though is now I can actually reverse it if I wanted to. So I can drag the variable back. You see he's going backwards. So now we have direct control over the time flow. We just need to program it in. So let's go ahead and just create a simple input for just make the time flow backwards. Let's add a couple. Let's do if input get key down key code dot e is forward equals true. If input dot get key down key code dot q is forward equals false. So just do an else, do time minus minus, and do if time is less than 0, time equals 0. I guess we can, it doesn't matter that much. I guess we'll do, just for the sake of being fancy, time less than 0, 0, else, time. Yeah, single line. Love it. Alright, so let's see if this works. Alright, I'm creating my recording. Hit P. It's recording. Go backwards. Yep. Hit E, he's going forward again. Q backwards. And E forwards. Pretty great. It's pretty fun. That's I guess that's about it for this tutorial. I'm probably going to make another part where we go a bit more advanced because there's certainly a lot more things you can do with this, but I wanted to make sure this didn't go over too long. It's already pretty long, almost half an hour, so just go ahead and just show it again. Hit P. He's playing, doing some playback. He's moving around, hit Q, and he starts reversing. It's the idea in a nutshell. It's not anything too crazy. Hit E, he's going forward again, Q, ooh. And you know, you can tweak around and make it go faster and slower because all you have to do is increment this integer. So yeah, thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, you know, I plug myself and go ahead and follow me on Twitter, you know. I've got a website, Daridact.com, you know. A little Twitter overlay. Yeah, you like that, don't you? But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching, and I will make a part 2 hopefully, and I want to cover how to reverse animation with the animator as well as reversing sounds, as well as controlling animation speed. Those are some pretty interesting techniques, and also disabling the controls for reversing the player himself. And well, you know, tune in next time, and you know, follow me on Twitter, all that good stuff, and have a nice day, night, whatever.